Folks, infinite combos have been an issue pretty much dating back to the dawn of the fighting game genre. How can we create a balance of letting the players be creative and experimental and find cool combo possibilities while not allowing people to just get one touch and then combo the opponent forever and there's nothing they can do about it? One of the first fighting games ever to include any kind of infinite protection was a little-known game from 1994 called One Must Fall 2097. When juggling opponents in this game, there's actually a rule that each attack can only be used one time per combo. So as you can see, I can juggle him with jab one time, but the second jab will just phase through. But I can do one punch into one kick, and we can actually use all the different variations of an attack. So neutral punch is a different move from back punch, is a different move from forward punch, so we can start to mix all these in. And sure enough, given enough time, players were able to completely break this system and do really long combos that will instantly dizzy, combos that will do 100% by utilizing all the different moves available to them and pushing this combo limitation to its absolute limits. 1994 was also the same year that Killer Instinct came out. This was another game that introduced a combo limiting mechanic. In this case, it was combo breakers. So even if you can do a really long, crazy, ridiculous, over-the-top combo, the opponent has a chance to get out. In this game, it was like a rock, paper, scissors system. You had to guess what strength of button the opponent was going to use, light, medium, or heavy, and you essentially had a 1 in 3 chance of breaking out depending on what button they press. So yeah, there were crazy combos in this game, but in a theoretical world, you always had the opportunity to escape. In 1996, we were introduced to Capcom's Versus series with X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and in the Versus series, characters have launchers and air combos that they can do by super jumping. So naturally, this opened up an insane amount of combo possibilities for players to use, and so Capcom implemented their attempt at limiting what could be done in an air combo, and that is called the flying screen. So you can see after certain attacks, the opponent will essentially go flying. The flying screen will throw the opponent really far from you, and if your character's off screen, they actually have to run in off the edge of the screen, which kind of disables your control for a little bit. And not only that, the flying screen introduces some very interesting limitations on what your character is allowed to do. So after flying screen is triggered, you're going to be locked out of a lot of options until the opponent once again gets the opportunity to block. For example, you cannot do special moves after flying screen. So for example, Gene Splice, Cyclops' uppercut, after we trigger flying screen, we are actually completely prevented from doing Gene Splice. No matter how precisely we press the buttons, the move will not come out until the combo is over. This applies to supers as well. You might want to end a combo with like a super after a juggle, but you are completely locked out from doing the super. You can see here, even though I input the super, it is not going to come out no matter what because of flying screen. You're also prevented from super jumping. So, you know, normally you have a normal jump and you have a super jump, and a super jump is how you follow up your launcher. But after you trigger flying screen, you are blocked from super jumping. You can see I can normal jump only. So they put a lot of limitations in place with the idea that once you launch the opponent and you do your air combo, this is gonna be where the combo ends. They want everything to end right there. No crazy, ridiculous combos continuing after the air combo. But of course, the players were not gonna put up with this. Many infinites and crazy post-launcher combos were found, ways of doing 100%, ways of instantly dizzying the opponent. Many things like this were found in X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Especially if you can find a way to juggle the opponent without triggering fly screen. You could just do really long, crazy, infinite combos like this one. So yeah, infinites were a huge problem in X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Let's look ahead to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And of course, this game has the same flying screen restrictions as previous games. So after you trigger flying screen, you will no longer be allowed to super jump. You will no longer be allowed to trigger any special moves or anything like that. No supers, only normals and normal jumping after a flying screen. But of course, we can work around that. We can find plenty of ways to do infinites without needing multiple launches or any kind of shenanigans after flying screen. So Capcom thought ahead and they put in a second form of combo limitation that we're about to see right here. It's called Undizzy. So like most fighting games of the time, previous versus games had a dizzy meter, an invisible meter that fills up as you take damage, and once it gets filled up completely, you will become dizzy and the opponent gets a free hit on you. You can see now Ryu is dizzy, I essentially get a free combo. So in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, they left in that invisible meter that is filling up as you take damage. That's still there, but when it fills up, you do not actually become dizzy. You just kind of spin out of the combo, and you will automatically reset. The opponent can't hit you during this, and you will get back to neutral. So if they ever try to do any combo that is just simply too crazy and goes on for way too long, the game essentially says, nope, we got to put a stop to this. We're ending this combo right now, one way or another. By the way, with some characters, this is really easy to trigger. Like if you get Rogue's speed up power up, she has all kinds of easy infinites while her speed up is going on. And she actually deals double dizzy damage. So the opponent will pop out after much fewer hits. Normally it takes around 50-ish hits to trigger Undizzy, but with sped up Rogue, it'll take somewhere in the neighborhood of 25. This also applies to Wolverine. He has a super that speeds him up, and sure enough, this is going to enable all kinds of infinites and crazy combos, and this will stack up the opponent's dizzy very, very fast so that they will get out of the combo quicker. So how are we going to break this? If the opponent always breaks out of the combo after like 50-something hits, how can we abuse this system and still kill them off of one touch? Well, one of the big oversights with this Undizzy system is that it only applies to normal attacks. Only normal attacks are going to fill up this invisible meter. I'm guessing the reason is they don't want to create a weird situation where like in a multi-hit super, you know, the opponent just disappears in the middle of it and pops out because they're taking a bunch of hits. That's my assumption for why it's only normal. Same for like multi-hit specials, right? So one side effect of this is if we happen to have an infinite that doesn't involve any normals, specials only, and they do exist. There's not many, but there are some special move only infinite combos in the game. The opponent will never break out, so we can essentially do it forever and eventually kill them. And Undizzy will never fill up and trigger. By the way, Hulk has one of these too, special moves only. It's a little bit tricky, so I'll probably drop it, but yeah, Hulk can do this too. Kill you 100% without ever doing a normal move. So that will also never trigger Undizzy. But the much bigger issue is with supers, right? So you can do the longest combo possible and end it with the super, and you know that the super will never trigger Undizzy. And a lot of supers actually do full damage even at the end of combos. They don't get damage scaled because of how this game's damage system works. So of course, Iron Man Infinite, one of the most famous combos in all of fighting games, probably the most famous infinite in all of fighting games, he is actually able to kill with this, even though Undizzy will eventually trigger. Let's see if I can trigger it here. There, you can see he popped out. I dropped the combo, but he still popped out. Undizzy will trigger, but because of the amount of damage you can tack on with super, you can kill with Iron Man Infinite. All right, let's go for it right here. Let's go. So this should kill. It did just kill without triggering Undizzy, because right before Undizzy was about to trigger, we went right into the super. Man, that took about 20 tries, but I finally got it. The lack of dizzy on supers also means that characters that can loop their supers can do so without ever having to worry about triggering Undizzy. And this becomes even more prevalent once we factor in DHC, or delayed hyper combo. This is where you do one super and then you switch into the next character's super. This adds a ton of damage to your combo, and it doesn't contribute to the Undizzy infinite protection. That means you can do whatever combo you want, rack up as many hits as you can without triggering Undizzy, and then when you finally do your super and your DHC, you can tag on just a huge amount of damage. So yeah, that is a common way that players are able to do touch of deaths and 100% without triggering Undizzy because of the sheer damage potential of supers and DHCs. So next up, let's talk about a game that tried to incorporate some of these existing mechanics and improve on them to have a more consistent combo system with fewer touch of deaths, and that game is Skullgirls. So Skullgirls actually has a somewhat similar system to One Must Fall 2097. If you can believe it, it was inspired by that game. It has something called the Infinite Protection System. So in One Must Fall, you could only use each attack one time per juggle. In this game, it's a little bit more subtle. You can only start a chain or a section of a combo with an attack you haven't used before. So after I launch the opponent here, the first attack I'm doing is jumping medium kick. And I'm allowed to do it because that's my first time using jumping medium kick in the combo. But if I try to loop this, you can see the opponent actually gets a free burst and they get to get out of the combo because the game goes, hey, wait a minute, you've already used jumping medium kick, so I'm gonna give the opponent a free burst here. But what if we added on a new move in front of the jumping medium kick to make this combo work? So we can do jumping medium kick there, and then we can do light kick into jumping medium kick there. And it's allowed because that's my first time using jumping light kick in the combo. So of course, people really found ways to abuse this. So it's like, okay, I'll do launch medium punch into heavy kick, and then next time I'll do launch into light kick into medium punch into heavy kick. Third time, I'll do light punch into light kick into medium punch. And sure enough, combos started to get really long as people figured out ways to wring every single possible hit and point of damage out of every combo by, using each little piece one time only to the optimal capacity they could. So eventually they added a second form of preventing infinites and long combos, which is Undizzy, just like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, except in this game it's called the drama gauge. You can see that green bar that fills up under the opponent's life bars as they take damage, and eventually once it fills up all the way, they will get a free burst that can help them get out of the combo. And another interesting aspect of both of these types of infinite protection is both of these bursts that the opponent can use to get out of your infinites and your long combos can actually be baited. So we can block and punish the burst and actually set the opponent up if we want them to try to think that they're going to get out of our combo. We can bait and punish. So long combos do exist still in this game, but definitely not to the extent that they do in a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And there is counterplay to the opponent's options for getting out of the combos, which I think is really, really cool. This is, of course, reminiscent of Guilty Gear, which has a burst that you can use to get out of combos. But in Guilty Gear, the burst is a meter that you have to spend, and then it takes time to recharge. So if you've already used up your burst, what is to prevent the opponent from just putting you in some crazy long combo that, lasts forever and, an infinite or that kind of thing? So there are a couple of methods in Guilty Gear. One of these is gravity scaling, where the longer and longer your combo goes, the faster and further the opponent is going to fall. So if your combo is going too long, eventually you just won't be able to juggle them anymore due to the gravity. And a new one introduced with Guilty Gear Strive is, of course, the wall. So now there's a wall that breaks and resets both players, breaking your combo for you, essentially. And the idea here is that, no matter how long your combo's going, eventually you're going to reach the corner and you are going to break the wall, thus ending your combo. But by far the most common way of preventing infinites in modern games is what's called hit stun scaling. So if you don't know, hit stun is essentially the animation a character goes into when they're getting hit, where they can't do anything, including block. So hit stun is what allows you to do combos. Because the opponent is in this getting hit animation, they can't block, the next hit of your combo can connect. But with hit stun scaling, the longer and longer a combo goes, the less hit stun every attack does. So this seems like it should be an infinite, right? This Dr. Doom combo. But eventually the hits start to do so little hit stun that the opponent just can't be comboed anymore, and the combo is essentially forced to end. We can see it here with Arthur as well. This feels like it should be a combo that goes on forever. It should be an infinite. But eventually the hits just stop connecting like they did because the opponent is taking less and less hit stun every time. Dragon Ball FighterZ is another game with hit stun scaling. It feels like this Cell combo should be an infinite, but it stops working because the opponent takes too little hit stun. They can tech out of the combo and escape. Tons and tons of modern games have this, like BlazBlue has hit stun scaling, Persona 4 Arena, and having played Project L, I can tell you that that game is gonna have hit stun scaling as well. So what are the issues with hit stun scaling? So I would say the biggest one is probably just that it's counterintuitive, or it's a little bit confusing, especially for newer players. Like for example, with Arthur, we might learn that we can do light, medium, heavy into boomerang into super. That's a combo. So that, let's say that's our beginner combo with Arthur. But what happens if the opponent gets hit by hidden missiles beforehand and we try to combo off it? All of a sudden, the opponent can block the boomerang because the hit stun scaling, the hit stun deterioration, means that this combo no longer works. So you kind of have to learn different combos for different starters depending on how much hit stun is added, and it can all become pretty difficult and confusing. But besides that, I think overall it's solid. I think it generally does what it's supposed to, barring stuff like TAC glitch, if you guys know about that one. But I'm curious what you guys have to say. What is your preferred form of combo regulation or infinite prevention, if you will? Or do you think we should just let it all rock? Should we just go back to the old days where you could just do whatever combo you wanted and they wouldn't stop you? But to be honest, maybe something we discovered in this video is those old days never existed. Even back in the early 90s, developers were already trying to find ways to stop you from comboing the opponent forever. But we're going to keep trying to break the games and we're going to keep having fun with it as well. So I hope you had fun watching the video. Let me know down in the comments which games out of these you think did it the best. I would love to hear your opinion. This video took a ton of work to make, so if you guys could hit like and subscribe, it would seriously help me out. But with that, let's end things right there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.